everyone for attending. We're going to go over calling in Microsoft Teams. This is for being able to use Microsoft Teams as the phone for your job role. So my name is Jared. If there are any questions, feel free to stop me at any time. If we cruise through all this with no questions, it'll take about half hour. If we do have some dialogue and interaction, we could take up to the whole hour. So feel free to stop me whenever something pops in your head. Hopefully you can all see my screen. If not, let me know. But let me, without more introduction, let me dive in here. So this is the Microsoft Teams application, which you're all familiar with. What we're doing is looking at the calling portion today. So nobody is licensed for Microsoft Teams calling yet, so you won't be able to like follow along on your own screen. But once your account is assigned a license, you would then be able to make and receive phone calls. So the first thing I always point out is on the left-hand side, you're looking for this little calls application. Looks like a telephone. If you do not see this, it typically will hide under this View More Apps option. So inside of here, you would find calls and you would select it. It would then show up. Actually, you can right-click on it and choose to pin it. And when you pin it, it permanently fixes it to the sidebar here. And then you're able to click and drag and reorder these icons into whatever order makes the most sense for you. So once you've got the calls application on the side, if you click on that, it pulls up the calling application, and the biggest clue that you're in the right spot is you have a dial pad here. So it will also show your phone number, the number that's assigned to you, and then we'll go over the rest of this interface here kind of piece by piece. Below the dial pad, you have a emergency address location. So if you're on campus, this will automatically detect which building you're in, and it should also get close enough to tell you which floor you're on. If you do notice that it says you're in a certain building but the wrong floor, that's something you're going to want to open a IT help desk ticket regarding, and they can look into why that's not correct. But for the most part, it should be accurate to the building and floor level. If you're working out off campus, like from home or wherever you might be, the system will essentially try and identify your location using location services. So within Windows, the operating system, it's looking at your IP address and different characteristics to determine kind of where you are. What you'll see right out of the gate is it'll show a little red exclamation mark, and it'll have a address that's close to your real address. It's probably not going to be spot on, but it's going to be pretty close. For me, it's a few houses off. And so what I want to do is come in here and say verify, and then I'm able to adjust this to get it just where it needs to be. And then at that point, oh, it wants me to pick it. Once I have it selected, I can say confirm, and then you'll notice a little red exclamation mark disappears. A confirmed address is good. That means if you do happen to call 911, you'll go directly to the correct answering center, to the proper dispatchers, and they will be able to assist you, and they'll know exactly where you're calling from. If you call 911 and your location is not confirmed, it does route you to like a national answering center, where then they would help identify your address, and then they would pass you on to your local dispatchers. So the nice thing is, once you confirm your address, like if you're working from home, it does remember that. So you won't have to do it like every single time. It's kind of a one-time thing. And again, that only applies if you're off campus. If you're on campus, it should already know the building and the floor where you're located. Questions on that at all? Okay. Below that, we have the call forwarding options. Call forwarding is like you're going on vacation for a week and you just want to route your calls to voicemail, or you're out of the office for the afternoon and you want to forward your calls to a colleague who can, handle them on your behalf, something like that, right? So under the call forwarding options, by default, it says don't forward. If I click this, it shows me recent options. So that's these bottom three. And then forward to voicemail is, I believe, always in the list. If I want to forward to voicemail, I simply check that option and it says forwarded to voicemail. If I want to unforward it, I just go back to don't forward. If I want to forward it to a colleague and they're not on my recent list, I would go to the more settings option. Inside here, I would toggle on forward all calls. And then it says, how do you want to forward them? I could do to voicemail, or I could say to a contact. And now I could type in somebody's name in the organization and I could choose that account. And at that point, all my calls are then forwarded to, in this case, Carly. If I wanted to unforward it, I could, again, back at the calls application, set that to don't forward. Or if I go to more settings, I can toggle off the call forwarding as well. Questions on call forwarding? Pretty self-explanatory. All right. When you receive a phone call, so I'm going to go through all these options here because there's lots of good stuff. How I got here is under calls. If I go to the forwarding option, I can go to more settings. You can also get here by going to the little ellipsis icon in the upper right and by going to settings and then choosing calls. The settings location within Teams is the same for everything, but you just have to kind of go to the little category of what you're looking for. So in this case, we're under calls. When I receive a call, by default, do not ring anyone else. Just ring me. Let me know the call's here. I'll answer it if I want to. If I want to, I could also ring another number or another contact. So this would be kind of like a simultaneous ring where it rings my computer, my devices, and maybe I also want to ring a colleague because we're covering calls for one another or something to that effect. So I can choose that, could type their name from the contact list. But for the most part, do not ring anyone else is probably where you're going to want to leave that. When you're in a call and receive another call, so this is the call waiting type of option, you got a couple choices. So you can play a busy signal, and that second caller will hear that you're busy. You can let the second call ring through, so then a pop-up will appear on your screen, and you can choose to decline or answer or whatever you want to do. Or you can redirect the call as if unanswered. If I choose that, it kind of leads us further down the page here. When you can't answer a call, how do you want to handle that scenario? By default, it will go to voicemail. You could also say, at that point, forward to another number, or do not redirect calls. There's all kinds of certain options there, but for most people, voicemail makes the most sense. And then finally, you get an option of how long do you want to ring your phone before redirecting. So 20 seconds is default. You can decrease or increase that as needed. But the way this is set up here, if a call comes into me and I don't answer it, after 20 seconds, it will go to voicemail. If a call comes in and I'm already on a previous call, it will send the second one to voicemail automatically. It won't wait 20 seconds, and that caller would then be able to leave a voice message. Further down here, I've got ringtone options, so I can click this and choose from all kinds of different ringtones. So I can tell if a call is coming to me versus maybe the cube next to me, that sort of thing. Forwarded calls, if someone forwards a call to me, transfers a call to me, I could have that play a different sound than if a call comes directly to me. And there's a whole bunch of options in there that you can choose from. For voicemail, you can record a greeting. If you click this button, it will call into the voicemail platform, and you'll be able to walk through and set up a greeting for yourself that callers would hear. If you don't want to record your own voice, you can type a custom greeting. So, well, I glossed over one other piece here. When the call goes to voicemail, typically we'd let the caller leave a message. You could also say, let the caller record a message or be transferred to someone else, in which case they would be presented with an option to press a key and maybe transfer to someone else in your department where they could get assistance. So there's different options here on how you handle calls once they go to voicemail, but the default is just to let the caller record a message. Right below that here, you do have the option of typing out your voicemail greeting. So if you don't want to record one, you can simply type out what you'd like it to say. Keep in mind, it is using a text-to-speech type functionality, and if you have a challenging last name, that the gal may pronounce it wrong. So you may have to spell it phonetically in here to get it to sound correct. Do note that if you hover over this little I, this little information symbol, it says if you've recorded a greeting, it will override this custom greeting option. So if you type something in here and can't figure out why it's not working, be sure and check that you haven't already recorded a greeting. Further down, we've got out of office voicemail. So you may type in here a greeting for when you're out of the office. And then this little checkbox right above it says, when Outlook auto replies are turned on, automatically play my out of office voicemail greeting. So very convenient to be able to simply set your out of office in Outlook and know that it is going to play whatever your custom voicemail greeting is. Further down, we do have some call group options. There are some departments around campus that are going to use call groups for distributing calls to the department. We will go over this in more depth with those users once we get closer to a go live date. So I'm going to not dig into this too much today. Any questions on these options before I keep on going?
Hey, Jared.
Yes.
Casey asks, if we don't want to type our greetings, can we record them?
You can. So right here, under record a custom greeting, you would click this and it will dial into your voicemail box and walk you through recording the greeting. Okay, thumbs up, perfect. Fantastic. Back to the calls application. Under the custom, so I'm kind of working my way down here, right? We just went over call forwarding and all the good fun options inside there. This little gear is for audio devices. So how do I want to interact with these phone calls, right? If I have a headset, I might want to choose that device. If I want to use my PC, microphone, and speakers that are integrated into my laptop, I could choose that. If I want to get more fancy, then I go to this device settings option. Again, we're kind of back to that same settings screen, right? Calls is right here. We just went through all that, but now we're under devices. So let me go through this. I can choose to use the speaker. So how do I want to hear the phone ring, or if I'm on a call, how do I want to hear those options? We've got the options here to choose, from your headset, or maybe the built-in sound driver on your PC. For the microphone, same thing. You can choose a webcam microphone, or maybe a headset microphone, and so on and so forth. Adjusting the microphone sensitivity automatically. This is good to keep on. What this is for is if you're talking quietly, it will increase the gain on the microphone to make sure that you're heard at an appropriate level. On the flip side of that, if you're talking quite loudly, it will reduce the gain to make sure that you're not yelling at people or appear to be yelling at people. So a nice feature to turn on. The sync device buttons is for headsets. It allows the headset buttons to answer and hang up a call. I recommend just keeping that turned on as well. And then finally, in regard to the audio settings, you can do this use this make a test call button, and it will call into a automated system on Microsoft's platform and let you speak, and then it will play back the sound to make sure that your both your speaker and your microphone are working properly. Noise suppression. So this is a great feature. If you're working from home and there's background noise, this will do its best to cut out a lot of that. So pets or kids, lawnmowers, dishwashers, all that sort of stuff that just is the noises of being at home. It tries to cut out some of those things while you're on a call or in a meeting. Spatial audio. This is kind of a cool setting if you're using headphones or even with your PC speakers and you're in a Teams meeting with a whole bunch of people. It will kind of make it sound like the person on the left side of your screen is coming out the left speaker, that sort of thing. So it's kind of like an immersive experience, if you will. The secondary ringer. This is great if you use your headset a lot for making and receiving phone calls, because the headset might be on a charger or sitting on your desk. It may not be always on your head. So the cool thing with this is that I could tell it, hey, always play the ringtone out my PC speakers, so that way I don't miss a call, right? Kind of a nice feature there. Further on, you can see me sitting here on my camera preview. You can see what your camera would look like. You can automatically adjust camera controls. Turn that on. It should maybe brighten or, nope, not working today. There's a green screen effect. This is for virtual background settings. Adjust brightness. That might help. Look at that. Works great. You can adjust brightness automatically, and then you can also use the Instagram or TikTok effect to apply a smooth and polished look to your appearance. So really kind of glam things up while you're on a meeting or in a phone call. Any questions on the audio video settings? I am watching the chat. I don't see anything coming in there. So, all right, let's keep on going. Back to the phone calls. Next in here, we've got history. So this is where you'll find all of the calls that you placed, received, and missed. And also voicemail does appear in here as well. These little icons at the top here, I guess they're kind of like ovals, more or less. You can use these to filter the list. So I can show me just missed calls, or just ones I received, or just calls that I placed, or just voicemails. You get the idea. You can kind of filter things. If I want to search through this list instead of scrolling through and trying to find something, this little funnel type icon, if you click this, you can then type these 8261. I type in a number, and it would show me all the times that I have called that number in my call history. What is the little? Oh, okay. You can also filter and then filter further. I didn't realize that's a new feature. Pretty slick. Another thing I like to point out is that while I can kind of see the parties involved and I can see a duration and I can see the date, I'm not quite sure exactly when this call took place. But if I click on it, the right-hand side here gives me more details. So now I can see exactly what time the call started, what time it ended. I can see that it was outgoing, which I can also see here. You get the little outgoing with the phone and the arrow pointing out, versus incoming would be the other direction, like right here. You can also call items or call entries back. So if I say, oh, I talked to this person the other day, I need to call them back, I can simply click call and it will dial them. The one thing I do want to point out is if you have a multi-party call like these, where there's clearly two participants plus myself, if you do click call on this, it will call everyone back. So be mindful of that. It's handy, but can also be problematic if you don't intend to actually do that. If you hover over in a call history item, you can also, under the little ellipsis icon here, I can do additional functions such as block a caller. So if I'm constantly being spammed by somebody, I can block them. And it does only apply to you as an individual. It does not block them for the entire organization. That's always a common question. So it is a personal block, not a global block. I can then add this number as a contact. So if it's someone I call frequently, I can add them as a contact. And then next time I might get more details like the business name or the person's name instead of just a phone number. Or if I want to add them to a speed dial, you can do that as well. And let me show you how that part works. So by default, over on the right here is the speed dial section. And you can see I've got some colleagues in here. I've got some fine dining establishments, some necessities like Starbucks and Dutch Bros and so forth. And maybe I also want to, here, let's pretend that Starbucks doesn't exist in here. Delete contact. There it goes. Say I want to add them in here. Maybe if I've called them before and I've placed my mobile order and I want to call them back, I can simply, or I want to add them as a contact, I can click the ellipsis here. And I can say add to speed dial. And then it pops up and it goes, well, I have, who is this, right? And I can say this is Starbucks. And I can say save, and then boom, puts them on the side. I can call them back real quick and easy. I don't want to have them there. I can again delete the contact and make them disappear. You'll notice on the external contacts, all I get is a phone. There's a phone icon. I don't get video or other things. For a contact who is part of the organization, I can also do a video call because they are also using Teams. And we can just, have a video chat if needed. Or I can call them audio only, that sort of thing. Further management of the speed dials is done under this people application. So if I click this, oh no, sorry, this is to add one manually. This is good to cover too. If you click on the add a person up here, you can type in a name or number. So if I wanted to add my wake-up call coffee, I would type that in, and it says we didn't find any matches, and I say that's okay, I want to add that anyway. And now I can type in a phone number for wake-up call coffee, save that. Now they're on my list too. The button I meant to hit is this view contacts. So this takes me to the people application. You'll notice it's another application on the side here. Inside of people, this is kind of like a personal contact list. Kind of a duplicate of like Outlook, but this is more for phone calls, right? So I can add colleagues and phone numbers in here that I call often. I can search in the search bar for colleagues within the organization, and then I can then add them as a contact. And once they're once they're in my contact list, I can click the little ellipsis here, and then I can say add to speed dial, and that will also put them. It should have had a Pizza Hut. There it is, Pizza Hut right there in my speed dial list. Any questions on speed dials contacts? Just kind of a handy way to manage people you might call frequently. Awesome. All right, let me go over some actual phone calls, and you'll have to bear with me as I try to make it so you can hear and experience all this. Let me change my microphone option real quick. I'm going to go to this here. Can everyone still hear me? Thumbs up, maybe. Thumbs up. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, let me do a phone call. So all I would have to do is type in a number. And once I do that, it pops up and goes, hey, that's external, obviously. I then click call, and it will ring. You can probably hear that ringing. All right, so I'm going to pull this over. So this is the call window that popped up on my other screen. And then I need to actually answer it. There we go. And I've got it muted, so I don't have to. There we go. Now I have it muted, so I don't have feedback. Okay, I got a phone call. Now, maybe I called another business and they have one of those fancy phone trees that I have to choose, one for support and then
2 for something else. Just like to point this out because it does confuse people sometimes. When you're navigating those phone tree options, you do not want to use this dial pad in your Teams application because it will not work. You want to use the active call window, and you want to click on the actual little dial pad icon here. And this is where you would hit 2 and then hit 3 and wait on hold and all that good stuff, right? So this is your keypad for navigating those phone tree options. Next down the list here we have hold. Obviously I can place a call on hold. The caller, you can see they have hold music, and I can then resume the call, and now they're off hold. If I want to transfer to somebody else, I can click transfer, and you'll see that I get all kinds of really fun options. So I can do a blind cold transfer by just clicking transfer. The call goes on hold, and I get the option to type someone's name. So if this is going to someone else on campus, I would choose to type their name, select them from the list, and now I can just transfer it to Carly, or maybe if I know she's not there, I could send it to her voicemail. I get that option too. I also get the option to ring back if no answer. So this is really cool. If I know that it's important that this caller gets someone to help them, I could say ring back if no answer, then send it on to Carly. And if she doesn't answer, it will come back to me. Now, if you want to transfer to someone off campus or outside the organization, let me resume the call, transfer again. Okay, so now I could just type in an outside phone number. So I could do, 208-555-1234. It says, hey, that's an external number. I can choose that. Now you'll notice the ring back goes away because it cannot track those calls that go outside the system. So keep in mind, that's not an option there. And now I would just hit transfer and the call would get sent on its way. The other option we have is the consult, then transfer. So if I choose this, the caller goes on hold again, and you'll hear the music. Same thing, type in someone's name, pull them up, and now I can chat with this person, or I could do a Teams audio call and be able to say, hey, I've got, Sue on the line and she has a question about admissions. Can you help her? So on and so forth. So if I choose chat, let me show you what that looks like. I get a little pop-up window and I can ask Carly, are you around? I have a call for you. And she replies back, yes, I'm here, send her through. I would then click transfer and complete that process. If she says, no, I'm just walking into a meeting, I will call her back. I can send that person straight to her voicemail if I want to. So lots of different options for transferring and handling calls. Questions on those items so far? All right. You'll notice there is no button for conference. So how do we do that? Well, if I click this people icon, I can see the participants in this phone call. And right now it's just my demo account here and another phone number. And say I want to conference in somebody else. Well, I could type in a different phone number. And as soon as I select it, it will call that person. And you can hear my phone ringing in the background.
This call will join you to a conference. Please say OK or press 1 to join it.
So you can hear there that it's offering to join me to the conference. I can hit 1.
You are now joining the meeting.
There we go. And that call has just joined the meeting. I had to mute it real quick. Now, I can ask them a question. And if we're good, I can simply mute the person, or I can remove them from the meeting. If I remove them from the meeting, it just boots them out and hangs up on them. So kind of a cool feature there. Now you'll notice that it just called them and said, this call will join you to a conference, but they're like, I have no idea what this conference is about. I don't want to join. So they may not answer, right? Kind of a problem. One thing we can do is, let me demonstrate this. I'm going to hang up this meeting here and that. We'll do our call again to this number. Make sure that I mute it so I don't have feedback. You can hear it ringing. All right, so we're answered. We're both on mute. Now I say, oh yeah, let me pull in Joe. He's going to help us answer this question. So I can actually put this call on hold. Could call another number. It's going to start a second phone call. You're going to hear that ring in just a second. Okay, so I've got that. There we go. Got that answered. So now I have 2 active calls. Well, sorry, 1 on hold, 1 active. Now I can warn Joe, hey, do you have a second for this conference call? I got some questions for you. And he says, yeah, that sounds great. No problem. I have plenty of time. So I can go in here under more and I can do this thing called merge. So I can click merge and it says choose a call to merge with. Well, yeah, I want to choose this other one. And now it brings us all into, there we go, into a Teams meeting, into a conference call together. So I had 2 separate calls, merged them together. So kind of a cool feature. Questions on call merging or conferencing, anything regarding that? Okay. One more thing, and I promise we're done. All right. Make sure I don't call the wrong number. That looks good. Call comes in. Okay. Got another call. It's muted. So the last thing I wanted to show you is call park. So under the more button, I have park call. When I click park call, it puts the caller on hold, and you can hear they've got hold music. And I get this cool screen that says call parked at code 10. So I can close this, and I still get this little reminder on my Teams application that the call is parked at number 10. So if this is supposed to go to somebody and I just saw him walk down the hall, I can go chase him down and say, hey, I've got an important call for you. It's parked on number 10. And they can go to any Teams phone or any computer with Teams, maybe a phone in a break room or in a conference room, and they can retrieve that call. So they would look for that call park icon. It's a little phone with a letter P. You can barely see it there. Or they click this call parked calls button, type in number 10, and they pick the call back up. So it's also useful if you realize that maybe you should take this call to a conference room instead of your office. Say, hey, this would be better. We'll grab some people, we'll hop in the conference room, have a discussion. So all you have to do is park the call. Now it's at number 11. Now I can walk in the conference room, go to the conference phone, press the call park button, type in number 11, and pick it up. One question that we always get is how long can a call stay parked? The answer is 300 seconds or five minutes. After that period of time, it will ring back to the person who parked it. So if you do park it and realize that you forgot to tell somebody or someone hasn't picked it up yet, you do have a chance to pull that or to get that back because it will come back after 5 minutes. Any questions? Better mute that again. Any questions on call park or conference or transfer, any of those good things? Okay. Very good. As I said, it's just right around 30 minutes. Any questions, any weird scenarios you can think through? How do I handle this? How do I do that? Anything I can answer for you? Okay.
Jared, it's Courtney.
Yes.
I've got a question for you. So I got Teams on my phone
Yep.
And I want to be able to, like, check, like if I'm in a meeting, I can get chats and everything, but I definitely don't want my phone ringing when I'm in a meeting on my Teams phone, on my cell phone, ringing at night, or like when I'm in a meeting. What are my options to suppress those sort of notifications on my phone?
Great question. So you can change your status in the Teams app on your phone. So if you have the Teams app on your phone, you would open that up and then tap on your little initials or your picture in the upper left. And under there, you can change your status to do not disturb. So if you're going into a meeting, you can set it to do not disturb, and it will reject any incoming calls because it knows that you're unavailable. Now, for quiet hours, like overnight or on a weekend, same place in the Teams app, you would hit your little initials or your little picture, and then there's a notifications section. And inside there, you can adjust quiet hours for the phone calls and choose when they ring to you or what time of day or when you would like those to come through. So you could choose 8 to 5, Monday to Friday. Outside of that, it will not bother you on your cell phone.
Thank you.
You bet.